Hi everybody, welcome back to our next Lunch and Learn, and it is taking us to Chinatown. So quickly, the boundaries, it's really along Spadina between College, just south of Dundas to Sullivan, and then along Dundas Street from, I'll say Denison, which is almost at Bathurst, to McCall, which is almost at University. Anyways, Chinatown, it has a long and rich history. And in our Lunch and Learn, I can only really touch on the tip of it. I really just want to speak about how it ended up here in this location. So Sam Ching, he was the first recorded Chinese person living in Toronto in 1878. He actually owned a laundry on Adelaide and Yonge Street, and they actually have a little laneway, Sam Ching Laneway, that you can see today. Anyways, notice how I said it was recorded because obviously he was not the first one. I guess suffice it to say by the mid-1800s, there was a presence of Chinese people in Toronto. So in 1885, the government, it enacted the Chinese Immigration Act, and it tried to limit the number of Chinese entering the country. But despite this, in the early 1900s, the Chinese, they settled here close to Union Station because these were men who came here to help build the Canadian Pacific Railway across Canada. So by 1909, there were two clusters of Chinese community in Toronto. In the East End, it was at Queen and George, and in the West End, it was at Queen and York Street. In 1912, there were almost 20 Chinese restaurants, most of them in the ward. And by 1920, there was probably close to 100 restaurants and cafes. So the present neighborhood that we are standing in now, it was a result of the government in the 1950s. They expropriated the land, which we now, it's in the ward, but which we now call City Hall and Nathan Phillips Square. And this moved the Chinese community further to the west, towards Spadina, which is where we're ending up here. Anyways, we're going to go eat lunch. We're going to go to Hong Fat and see how it is. Okay, so we're here at Hong Fat. This place has been here a really long time. I expect this food to be fantastic. I have a pork and noodle soup, and this is lo mein with duck and dumplings and ginger sauce and jasmine tea. So let's dig in and see how it is. All right, Hong Fat, my assistant and camera person extraordinaire, Joelle. This is her son's favorite place, and I understand why. I loved it. And it was really, really inexpensive. It was really cheap. So very much worth going to. Okay, we're standing here in the neighborhood. Prices. I'm going to say there's a lot of rundown properties in this neighborhood. So you'll see some abnormally cheap ones, but there's some nice ones too, and there's some expensive ones. So detached, there aren't very many. I actually had a look in the entire year. There was one sale, one bungalow that sold for $2 million, most likely for land value. I would expect if you had some of the nice ones that come on board, and it depends. I've seen some new builds. It probably could be 2.5, maybe even 3 million, depending on the size. Most of the stuff in here is semis and bungalows. Some of the smaller ones run $1 million, and those are a lot of the rundown stuff. And you can go up for nice stuff for 2.5 million if it's nice and fixed up. So also there's some condos here. They're actually starting to build more. There was a bunch of old ones. The one bedrooms, $450 for older stuff, up to $850 for brand new one plus a den, and 2 beds. Again, same thing with the older stuff, maybe just under 700,000 I've seen, to not quite 2 million, let's say $1.8 million, $1.85 million, something like that, about $1,000 a square foot. Anyways, I love doing these videos. Like, share, and we'll talk soon.